Paul Bettner, Bettner, job title is CEO and founder at Playful Corp. Playful's working on Lucky's Tale, a third-person action-adventure platforming game designed exclusively for virtual reality. Well, I think just like you and probably all the folks that follow VRFocus is the first time I saw this, actually the first time I heard about it, virtual reality, that it was a thing again. I kind of I was a little skeptical. I've had my heart broken, I think, as a lot of people have over the years, just kind of people promising that virtual reality is, now's going to be the time, and then you kind of try it out and it really doesn't meet the sort of dream of virtual reality. But a couple of years ago, now, I guess it's been almost 2 years, we went out to visit Palmer Luckey and saw the very first prototype of his device, this kind of duct tape together thing that, really, really fragile. There was only one of them in the world at that point. And I kind of held it up to my face and looked into it, and for the first time, it matched the sort of science fiction dreams of virtual reality that we've kind of had in our heads for many years now. And once I saw that, then, for me, I just didn't want to work on anything else. So the jump from apps to virtual reality, for us, I've got this question before, and people are like, what does Words with Friends have to do with a virtual reality platforming game? The thing they have in common is that when we created Words with Friends, we did that because, and I kind of was really passionate about that, because the first time I held an iPhone in my hand, I thought, this is the future of gaming. I'm going to be wanting to play tons of games on this, and this was before the App Store was out. Like this, there were no games on the iPhone at that point. But I still, I put my hands on that technology and I saw it and I thought, this is incredible. This is going to change everything. It was the exact same feeling when I held that virtual reality device, that very early device that Palmer created, in my hands, and I looked into it. I thought, this is absolutely the future. So for me, that's what I'm drawn towards. I really love doing work on the cutting edge of what's happening in gaming, and and so that's why we're here doing this right now. So why work on Lucky's Tale? What attracts me to that style of game? I'm the biggest Nintendo fanboy in the world, but that's not surprising. We all love Nintendo games, but I've been playing those games since I was a kid. And I remember the very first time that I saw Mario 64, which is probably my favorite game of all time. It's definitely in the top 3. And I was actually standing in a Toys R Us, which is a toy store here in the States, and I walked by this kiosk and the game was playing up on the screen, and I just stopped, and I was stunned by what I was seeing. I had never seen it. Just looked like a cartoon come to life. And then the funny thing is, I watched as there's this guy that was pushing his kid in a cart, and he just had this look on his face, this kind of middle-aged guy pushing his kid around, didn't really want to be at Toys R Us, and he suddenly looked up and saw that, and he just stopped in his tracks, and he couldn't, he was totally not into being into a toy store, but as soon as he saw that, he was just kind of enraptured with it. And it was the same thing for me when I saw that game for the first time. Anyhow, as we started working on Lucky's Tale and this concept of a third-person platformer, the very first time I saw it come to life, and it was just an experiment for us. We didn't think it was necessarily going to work. Everyone else is trying first-person games in virtual reality. Makes all the sense in the world to do that. But we had this crazy idea. What would happen if we tried a third-person game? And we were really just trying every crazy thing we could think of, because virtual reality is such a frontier. We don't know yet what's going to work or what's not going to work. We put this prototype together, and it was just this boxes and capsules and stuff running around, this very simple environment. And I actually copied part of one of the 3DS Mario games I was playing at the time, just because we just wanted to experiment with it. And so I built this kind of level out of boxes and stuff that was a lot like a Mario level. And when we saw it, we were just shocked by how well it worked. And I think that's what you hear people say when they see the demo now, is in their heads they're thinking this isn't going to work before they see it, and then they put it on and they experience this character right in front of them and kind of looks up and waves at them, and they realize virtual reality is actually the ideal place to experience a third-person platforming game. So yeah, so this is a great question. Why is Playful? Why do we go after this kind of very young kind of character and style that's really appealing, seems to be appealing to kids. It's just kind of who we are. I mean, we love creating entertainment for everyone, not just for a particular demographic. And it's just kind of baked into the name of our studio, even with Playful, is what we live for is just seeing smiles on people's faces when they play our games. And these other games that are more, they're amazing. They have incredible graphics, but they're a little more dark or more mature or whatever. Sometimes the expression that you can have on your face when you play a game like that is like fear or adrenaline or whatever. We're just going more for joy. That's our thing. And so that's why, the world of Lucky's Tale is so bright and colorful, and the character is very appealing and friendly. The other thing is, we've just seen that in virtual reality, your experience of sort of seeing a character and having that character respond to you and look up at you is not like you've ever... when you play a game like Tomb Raider or even a Mario game, the way people might describe that is they'll say, oh, I'm Mario, I'm running through the level. But when you're in virtual reality, you don't ever feel that way. You feel like I'm me and that's the character. There's a clear distinction between the two. But that actually creates a more compelling experience in some way because you feel like that is another actual creature right there in front of you, and you can almost reach out and pet him and kind of play with him, and it feels really great. So anyway, because we discovered that feeling of how amazing it is to have a third-person character in VR, we wanted to make him a very friendly character and a fun, bright, colorful, so that's why we kind of went with that art style. It's very terrifying, but also really fun, because your question, how does it feel to go up against these kind of legends of game development that are some of our heroes, these characters, Mario and Crash Bandicoot. The funny thing is we're actually working with the creator of Crash right now, who Oculus hired, Jason Rubin, and he's helping us a ton just to kind of, giving us his feedback about this. This is what it was like when I was first creating Crash for the PlayStation 1, and these are the kind of things you guys are going to go through, and this is the challenges you should expect. But I think it's interesting. There's not a lot of companies trying to do what we're trying to do right now, and which is to create a beloved character that is just joyful and friendly and fun, and you just kind of want to spend time in his world and just kind of watch him frolic about. And I'm not sure why. I mean, I think that the game players and the audience, they love this. And I watch when we're demoing it here at PAX and when we've showed it off at E3 and Gamescom, people universally say the same thing, which is like, oh, it just made me so happy, and I wish more games were like that. So that's kind of why we're trying to do it. So how does it feel to be working with Oculus? We've actually been working with them for almost since the beginning. I think we're probably the first development studio that reached out to them and said, hey, we believe in this, and we're willing to put everything aside and commit ourselves to this full-time virtual reality development. And that relationship has been obviously fantastic for us and fantastic for Oculus. It's delivered, I think, what a lot of people are saying is kind of the showcase title for VR at this time. And for us, we obviously get our hands on all the latest prototypes from Oculus and stuff, and that's really cool. I have to be honest, that's definitely part of why I love doing this. Is I love just being on this absolutely bleeding edge of the technology and getting to see all the newest, coolest stuff that's happening. But also, these guys, the folks at Oculus, Palmer, and now these other folks that they've hired, like John Carmack, these are just the most brilliant people in the entire game industry. And the opportunity to work with people like that, like John, for instance, he's in Dallas with us, and he has a team there. That's just a dream come true for us. And it's also amazing. He's so invested in this, like we are. He believes that this is like the only future that's going to matter for games. Like, this is just such an important thing that we're going through now as an industry. And so it's a little intimidating, but it's also thrilling to be able to work with folks like that. So your question is kind of like, what is it like being on the very frontier, the forefront of this VR stuff that's happening? It's terrifying and also amazing. There's a lot still of skepticism around what's going to happen with virtual reality this time around. And again, I think it's because there have been a lot of false starts for this technology over the years, and kind of attempts to bring it to the market that haven't really worked out. I think folks that experience what the Rift can bring to the table come away from it thinking the same as I do, which is, okay, it's finally here, and this is a real thing, and it's it's a reasonably priced consumer device that can truly simulate this sensation, which we call presence, of being in another place. Like, you truly convinces your brain that you are somewhere else, especially on the latest hardware, and we're still in a development kit phase. So, to imagine what the consumer version is going to be, because Oculus is they're just relentless with their pursuit of perfection with this device. Like, they're just unwilling to get it wrong. They would rather just wait however long it takes until they truly have a device that isn't going to let people down, which is great. But anyway, what it's like for us developing on that frontier is, the simplest way to say it is just that it's changing constantly. Even what I think the next 6 months are going to hold, I can't really rely on that because this technology is evolving at such a rapid pace that I look at the DK2 and I'm like, I just can't wait for consumers to get their hands on this. But I actually think that probably what they will get their hands on eventually will be something that's even way beyond that. A perfect example is, you look at the games we're playing now, we're holding controllers in our hand like Xbox controllers, but Palmer Luckey at Oculus just recently had an interview. He was talking about, he just doesn't look at that as really the ideal way to control something in VR, and I feel the same way. Every time we show the Rift to somebody, the first thing they do usually is hold up their hands, and when they can't see them, then they're like, oh, okay, I guess, but the fact that that's everyone's natural reaction means that that's clearly where we need to get to, and probably a lot of us are thinking, yeah, well, that'll be like version 5 in a couple of years, but the way this stuff is going now is, it could be 6 months from now, who knows? It's happening so fast. Question being, do we see Lucky eventually becoming a multi-format title or shipping on other HMDs? That is absolutely our vision for the game. We own the IP for Lucky's Tale. We kind of set up this arrangement with Oculus as a publisher so that we have the opportunity to bring to sort of further development of Lucky in the future. And if people love Lucky and they love the game, then we're going to be able to bring it to lots of platforms down the road. But that said, Oculus is the premier developer for this stuff and publisher, and they like I said, we've had this really tight relationship with them from the beginning, and that's been mutually beneficial for us. So Lucky's Tale, the game that we're shipping as soon as we can, will be exclusively for the Oculus Rift. But Lucky as a character and the IP for Lucky's Tale is something that we can bring to other platforms in the future if we want to. But right now, like I said, Oculus is the one that has got all of our attention, so we'll just keep doing that.